I'm going to share a personal story, something that happened when my friend, H, died by suicide. We had been close since high school, and he was a really good guy. He was cheerful and could say funny things, and even though he wasn't popular with girls, he was hugely popular among the boys. After graduating high school, I went to a university in Tokyo, while he attended a local university in our hometown. Because of that, we went our separate ways, and we didn't keep in touch very often. After graduating from college, I got a job in Tokyo, but he became a shut-in. At his funeral, his father told us that H had stopped smiling completely, which shocked me and our other friends. When we asked if something had happened at the university, we were told that starting in his third year, he gradually began shutting himself away. Some of his college friends came to the funeral, so we asked them about it, but they said they didn't know why either. They only noted that starting in September of his third year, he began avoiding them too. As we gathered more information, we found out that around February of his second year of college, his parents separated. His mother bought a house, and the two of them started living together there. But it didn't seem like that was necessarily the cause. After all, H had been lamenting his parents' bad relationship since high school and would even say things like, "I wish they'd just hurry up and divorce already." 3 years passed, and one day I got a call from my friend S. "Listen, this might sound really weird, but I need you to believe me," he began, sounding very serious. "H called me. I got a call from H. That was just impossible. It had already been 3 years since H died." "Don't mess with me," I said, anger rising in my voice. But S said, No. It's been 3 years, so obviously his cell phone should have been cancelled, right?" He was almost crying. "Yesterday, I went out drinking with G, another friend from high school, for the first time in ages. Then, around 11 p.m., my phone rang, and when I looked at the screen, it showed H's name." S had apparently never deleted H's number because he wanted to keep it. I also still had it. Even so, it was hard to believe. "Did you call back?" I asked him. "Yeah. I tried calling back twice, but weirdly, it connected both times." That made a chill run down my spine. "What? It connected? So someone picked up?" And no. S began to cry. I had no idea what was going on, so all I could say was what? "What happened?" "Hey?" He went on, "Look, I'm not sure you're going to believe me. G called, too, so he knows. You can check for yourself if you want." But he wouldn't continue. "So just tell me, what happened?" I asked, my voice getting louder. I wish I hadn't asked. "I'll write the details later." After that, S said, "You should try calling H's cell yourself. Then you'll know if I'm lying or not," and hung up. I was too scared to do it. I regretted ever hearing about it. Why did I regret it? Because that night, my phone rang. The caller ID showed H's cell. But H had died 3 years ago. I remembered seeing him in his coffin. I remembered his mother screaming hysterically, "H! Wake up! There's still time." Then a thought occurred to me, maybe his mother was behind all this, too grief-stricken over his death to accept it. The phone rang a second time, so I worked up the nerve and answered. "Hello? H's mom?" I asked, my voice trembling. A low male voice answered, "No, it's not," in what sounded like H's voice. Then the call ended. It sent a shiver through me. It was definitely H's voice, deep and male. None of it made sense. H was supposed to be dead. Then who had just spoken to me? How did they know our phone numbers? And how was his number even still active? I spent the next 30 minutes trembling, unable to come up with any answers. I wanted to call back, but I couldn't forget what S had told me, so I hesitated. Still, I couldn't just sit and do nothing forever. I finally decided to call. My hands were shaking, and my heart was pounding in my chest. I turned on every light in the room, shut the sliding doors and curtains, and called H's number from my call history. I really shouldn't have done that. I heard the ringing, once, twice, 3 times. My heart was pounding. 4 times, 5, 6, 7. Then it clicked over. Voicemail. The instant I reached voicemail, H's recorded voice started playing. "I'm going to die now. I'll record all the sounds. I'll curse you. I'll curse you all. Arg. Ah, beep." I immediately hung up and threw the phone. It was exactly what S had described. He said when he called, the voicemail was just H's voice. Like it was recorded right before he killed himself. I called S right away. It was the middle of the night, but I was so terrified that I didn't care about bothering anyone. Apparently I woke him up, But I told him about the call from H's phone, how someone answered, and how I heard the same voice on the voicemail when I called back. S just said, "What's going on?" and stayed on the line until I calmed down. But my fear didn't end there. "Hey, S, what do you think is going on?" At first, I suspected H's mom. Wait. I'm getting another call. I was too scared to check who it was. "Dude," S said, calling me by name, "just ignore it. Keep talking to me." But my palms were sweating. The phone against my ear felt like it was something sinister that I needed to get rid of. The call waiting tone kept beeping, beep, beep. After a few seconds, it finally stopped. I quickly told S I was going to hang up, ended the call, tossed my phone aside, turned on the TV, and watched some comedy show I had recorded on DVD through the rest of the night. I stayed up until morning. I couldn't face going to work. When I picked up my phone to call my boss, I saw I had 14 missed calls, all from H's cell. The last one had a voicemail. By morning, I was feeling a bit braver, so I decided to listen. Beep. "Hey, is that you? Is that you? Ha 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 ha." Chills shot through me. The laughter was identical to H's. I immediately called S. "Go to H's house, please," I said. He agreed to check on it with some of our other friends, G included. I waited for them to contact me. Around 4 p.m., S called back. Summarizing what he told me. Early that afternoon, S, G, and our friend M, also from high school, went to H's family home, but no one answered the door. M knew some of H's college friends, so he contacted them and found out H's mother had moved, so they got the address and headed over. But the mother's house had vines growing all over it and looked dilapidated. Even though it had been less than 10 years since she bought it, the house was in total disrepair, with even some broken windows. It didn't appear lived in at all. S rang the doorbell several times, but it didn't seem to work. He knocked on the door, calling, "H's mom, it's S from high school, anyone home?" But there was no response. They were about to give up and leave when S's phone rang again. The caller ID showed H's number. That terrified him so badly he tried to run, but just then he saw a pair of eyes peeking through a broken window. S was so scared he nearly collapsed. M, who isn't scared of ghosts at all, shouted, "If someone's in there, show yourself. We'll call the police if we have to. This is a crime." The person they saw quickly retreated inside, and then S's phone rang again. At that point, M guessed the person wouldn't call him or G because he only knew S's name. S had been calling out, "It's S." M opened the door, it was unlocked, and yelled, "Hey! Enough with this nonsense. You're disrespecting H's memory." Suddenly, a man emerged from further inside the house, holding a cell phone that looked exactly like H's. Naturally, they were stunned. But the person was actually H's younger brother. He burst into tears, yelling, "You guys are the ones who killed my brother and my mom," and tried to punch them. G immediately held him back and got him to explain. Apparently, H's mother had never accepted H's death and kept paying for H's phone so it remained active. When H killed himself, he left his final words on an MP3 recorder instead of writing a letter. His mother found it and listened to it over and over every day, stopped going to work, lost her sanity, and finally killed herself in that same room. In her suicide note, she had written something like, "H hated someone when he died. I'm so angry I never figured out who." Seeing that, H's brother took the audio from the MP3 and set it as the voicemail greeting on H's cell, planning to call everyone in H's address book. I was apparently the third or fourth person he tried calling, and when I picked up and said, "H's mom," he became suspicious. Why had I assumed it was his mother? Then he convinced himself that I must have been the person H hated, and that's why he kept calling me. Once S explained, he moved to Tokyo after high school, so they barely ever saw each other. H's brother calmed down. S, M, and G kept trying to persuade him, telling him, "You can't keep doing this," until he finally agreed to stop. However, while S and the others were at the house, H's brother said he had actually been watching them from upstairs the entire time, so there really hadn't been anyone downstairs. When they insisted, "No, there was definitely someone. We saw someone," H's brother broke down crying and said, "I'll get a purification rite done. I'll make sure both of them can rest in peace," or something like that. Even M, who never gets rattled, asked him about it several times. They were that freaked out. Ultimately, we never discovered the real reason why H took his own life. Although it wasn't a supernatural event, it was still the scariest thing I've ever experienced, so I decided to write it all down. Today, H's brother is great friends with S, and they hang out a lot. He called me to apologize personally, and of course I forgave him. Now, H's brother lives alone in their mother's house after having it purified and remodeled. He originally lived with their father, but he got permission to move, so that's where he stays now. As for H's suicide, I have no desire to find out what really happened. H's brother feels the same way. Based on what he's looked into so far, it doesn't appear that bullying was the cause. Apparently, H was suffering from some kind of mental illness. We agreed that we'd stop digging into the circumstances and avoid dragging other people into it, whether he, H, wanted that or not. 2 weeks before H died, he emailed us and wrote something like, "Let's all go out drinking again soon." When his brother read that message, he concluded, "My brother would never have held a grudge against S and the others." S had also been saying, H was never the type to resent anyone, which made the brother break down crying, too. Although H's brother sometimes goes drinking with G, M, and me, whenever I'm back in town, none of us has ever visited his house. It's partly because we're scared, and partly because it just makes us sad.